Hi everyone, Kerry Kirkwood here. I want to just take a couple of minutes to lift my Revive pastors and friends and our TFC friends and family and anyone watching around the world. You know, in this season of coronavirus and it's on the news and they have the countdown of how many have contracted, how many deaths there are in the world. When you watch that, it's like it's some kind of election returns, and it can be really discouraging to you seeing that. It looks like, you know, apocalyptic. We're coming to the end of the age. And so in this conversation with some of my friends, I hear this term, this is a bad timing. I don't know that everybody in good time, but we had momentum going, my job was doing well, our family was doing well, and all of a sudden this happened. It was bad timing. Now the Bible talks about timing. You know, there is no time in heaven, so the trumpet shall sound and time shall be no more. But God gave time to us, times and seasons. You know, the sun marks the day and the moon the night and so on like that. So notice what Paul said in 1 Corinthians 4, therefore judge nothing before the time until the Lord comes, who will both bring to light the hidden things of darkness and reveal the counsels of the hearts. Then one's praise will come before God. Now it's interesting, he uses a term there, kairos, and we know those terms. Kairos meaning open-end or seasons. In other words, we don't know the end and the beginning of them, they're just seasons. But one thing we do know, they said, don't judge anything at the moment the way things shall be. We're linear thinkers. We think, you know, the longer something goes, then it's going to just keep getting worse and worse. God thinks in terms of redemptive or cycle. He is the Alpha and Omega, meaning the fact is where he began, he always ends. And redemptive means to restore back to the original plan and purpose the way God has it. And even tells us in Ephesians 5, that we are to redeem the time, for the days are evil. Now this virus is evil, but can we see something redemptive out of this? Can God bring something out of this and through this and circle around? I think he can, because he is redemptive in everything he does. Even he says, they meant it for evil, but God meant it for good. So just consider for a moment, something that is taken from you that has been evil, God wants to redeem it and bring it back in full course. Maybe you had children that you've been distant with, or far from, maybe they're away from God, that there can be a redemptive moment to bring them back closer to you and back to God as well. Now Galatians 4 uses a different term for time, and he says, in the fullness of time that God gave us a son. The word time there is the word chronos, meaning God had an exact timetable and pinpoint moment that he wanted that to happen. So we know in the fullness of time, God gave us a son. Why? Because of redemption. He wanted to redeem or bring back into the original purpose that God intended. So during this season, I just encourage you to have a vision for what you want to see God doing through this season, and how that you can see God redeeming your family and restoring things that were stolen and taken from you. Now Acts 1:17, he says it like this, that only in the times and the seasons are only in the Father to know. And they were asking Jesus, is this the time the kingdom's going to be restored? They didn't know what was happening. Maybe they thought this was the end of the age during that time as well. And Jesus simply said, the Father knows the times and the seasons, and it's in his hand to do what he chooses to do. Now, so we're in evil times. We've been in evil times for many generations, but how we respond to these evil times really depends on our perspective and what we believe that God can do out of this. So instead of, you know, magnifying the problem, just begin to bless the Lord at all times. Begin to see the goodness of the Lord. And I'm believing God's going to take us through this, and there's going to be something on the other end. Now let me leave you with this thought. Paul tells Timothy in chapter 4 and verse 2, be instant in season and out of season. The word instant there is very interesting, I think. It means, episteme means to be instant and be present in the moment. In other words, show up as if something's going to happen and believe God to do something miraculous. So let me just pray with you right now and believe for there to be a restoration. You know, he said, as the Hebrews came out of Egypt, they didn't come out feeble, they didn't come out weak, they came out with silver and gold. Believe for something to come out through this epidemic, they call it, and see that your family, your church, and your ministry, whatever it is, comes in a greater strength than ever before. Father, I just pray over every person listening right now that they would have an expectation to see what you see, and that they would begin to pray it, declare it, and give thanks unto the Lord for all that is coming to them. The Lord, that nothing they would be lost financially, physically, spiritually. We call for the redemption of their whole house and their family, because we believe, God, that you are in charge of all the times and seasons. Until we have another lift moment, talk to you then. Bye-bye.